Let's talk journaling today. Now, I know you've got a lot of assumptions about journaling is and is not. So let me tell you why you should keep a journal. Be open-minded here. Now, this is my collection of journals for 40 years. I do not write in it every single day, but this basically includes all the major points of my life, the low points of my life, answers to prayer, anything that I think is interesting, I put in these. And let me share a couple things that's been very interesting. In fact, this happened just last night when I was thinking about things I might share. I started collecting these journals, or keeping them, July 9th, 1983. So 40 years this summer. And here's a selection from 1986 when I studied at L'Abri in Switzerland, the study center. And I have my schedule there. It's just kind of nondescript. I'm just what time I woke up, had breakfast, what I did, etc. But on the other page, something I completely forgot about was my tutor. I asked him in the afternoon, what were some passages from Scripture that had motivated him to keep walking with the Lord. When he shared them with me that afternoon, I was shocked, pleasantly so, because they were the same passages I had studied that morning, asking the Lord for some clarity on what would help me in my walk with the Lord. I forgot about that whole conversation, but I've got it here in my journal, 1986. Sometimes I just write in random things. Sometimes it's funny things, I think. Like here's a little sticker that I put in, this illustration. General Westmoreland, Vietnam fame, called down one day to the base motor pool and asked what vehicles were on the base and available. And the private who answered the call said, 2 Jeeps, 1 truck, and 1 sedan for the stupid general. Not believing what he had just heard, the general asked the private, "Do you know who you're talking to?" The private said, "No." "Well," said General Westmoreland, "this is General Westmoreland." The private thought for a moment, highly aware of his incredible blunder, and asked, "Well, do you know who you're talking to?" And the general responded, "No, I don't." To which the private said, "Well, so long, stupid," and hung up the phone. So I'll collect, illustrations, throw them in there. Here is even my most recent journal. My dad, who almost got to 98, died this summer. And a lot of people at the funeral said these wonderful things about my dad, and a lot of them were just in conversations. So what would I do is after the conversation, if it was memorable, and a lot of them were, and I wanted not to forget them, I wrote them down as texts on my phone, and then I just wrote them when I had a chance back into my journal. So I really encourage the writing down. You don't have to do it every day. You don't have to feel like, oh, this has got to be so profound, I need to get this down, or I can't come up with anything profound, so I'm immobilized putting something down. But journals are a great way. Here's 40 years of my life. I wish I had started earlier, but I've got from 25 to 65, which I am now, 40 years of basically the trajectory of my life that I can go back to moments that I've kind of forgotten or I kind of have a sketchy memory of, and I can go back and relive them and remember what God taught me in and through them. So I highly recommend, and again, none of these are fancy, but just find something, and not necessarily every day, but do it consistently, and you will really appreciate the benefit that comes from them.